Welcome to Do This, Not That, the podcast for marketers. We share quick tips, things you can do right now, and then we add a little bit of chaos at the end of every episode. We also keep it short, like this intro. Let's check it out. We are back for What's Up This Week from the Do This, Not That podcast. This is our short episode where we break down what's going on in business, in marketing, and life. So let's jump into it. Lots going on. LinkedIn announced something. LinkedIn, starting this June, will actually no longer allow for real-time live streams. I've tried this, and it absolutely didn't work, where you just go live. The way that you would on Instagram, you could just go live on LinkedIn, and you could start talking about whatever. And the reason I say I tried it and it didn't work is you would go live, and no matter how many followers or connections you have, you'd get like a handful of people, because out of nowhere, it just doesn't feel normal on LinkedIn to just go live. So, and by the way, LinkedIn events are great. We run 1 million of scheduled LinkedIn events, and they crush it as compared to just regular webinars. So I'm pro LinkedIn events, but them taking away of the real-time live streams, I get it why they're doing it, because it was kind of like a negative signal out there, but that's a change coming in June. Something really interesting coming out of the World Data Research Group about email send times. So a lot of us have been sending out our email newsletters, business, consumer, nonprofit, whatever, some of our email promotional offers of all sorts of different industries, whatever. We've thought that the window of time was early morning, 6 to 8 a.m. has been the time that we all focused on. Well, in the last 90 days, the data is showing that the window now of getting your emails delivered between 8 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. Is actually giving you about a 12% lift as compared to that 6 to 8 a.m. window. So that's really interesting. So if you've been living in that 6 to 8 a.m. window, or even before 6 a.m., I think you might want to start testing the 8 to 8:30 window, because we're seeing it do a nice boost. Some other interesting things going on is from Meta, which of course owns Instagram and WhatsApp and all the stuff. So being Meta verified or Instagram verified, which you pay for, the little blue check mark, okay, which, you know, millions of users out there now pay for that blue check mark. You get a lot of benefits, but Meta is now supposedly going to be launching some new things that come with that package. One of the things is Story Extend, which means when you put a story on your Instagram feed, it lasts for 24 hours. But if you are Meta verified, this hasn't rolled out yet, but it's going to be, you're actually going to be able to extend the life of your story for an additional 24 hours. And you're going to be able to do what's called a story spotlight, which is going to enable Instagram Plus users, the Meta verified people, to have their story show as the first story in somebody's, you know, little circle thing up top. So there's becoming more and more benefits to basically giving money to Meta, which makes sense. It stinks. We have to give money to Meta for that, but it works. So that's coming. So finally, something good on TikTok to share that actually is useful. So TikTok has something called hashtag book talk, you know, reading books, hashtag book talk. And it's basically this bestseller list. And now they've rolled it out all across Europe and the UK. And I believe it's going to be rolling out massively here in the US, which is they have this book talk bestsellers list. And it really has taken off. They've partnered with Nielsen to actually make sure the data is actually valid and showing what the actual best-selling books are and the things that are trending on TikTok in terms of their book talk hashtag. And now they've actually had over 50 million books recommended by Book Talk. It's led to almost $1 billion in revenue for the publishing industry. And I think this is fantastic. Anything to increase book readership is great. So if you've never checked out hashtag Book Talk on TikTok, finally something of value. Starbucks really stepped in it this week. I don't know if you saw this, but one of the big things going on is, you know, nostalgia marketing. And one of the big ones is Hannah Montana. So Hannah Montana, I know you don't care, is celebrating its 20th anniversary. I don't know why we care about this. I mean, the show was fine. Whatever. It was a good show. It wasn't the greatest show of all time. Who cares? So the 20th anniversary. So Starbucks decided to lean in with this special drink. Okay, this special drink called Secret to Pop Star Refresher Drink, all about the Hannah Montana kind of 20th anniversary, whatever. But the big problem is, it's this berry flavored drink to honor the character. Well, somebody on Starbucks did not do their research, because if you know anything about Hannah Montana, which sadly, or maybe not sadly, I didn't know this, she doesn't like berry drinks. Who knows this? Not me. So all the fans, when this got announced, said, "Hey, Starbucks, how did you not know that Hannah Montana does not like berry flavored drinks? You really stepped in it." So Starbucks came back and they said, "Yeah, well, 20 years later, Miley decided she's over that." That's how they handle that. How about they should have researched it a little bit? Anyway, all right, before we get to the ridiculous news of the week, because of course there's ridiculous news, I want to let you know that this podcast episode is sponsored by CallRail. CallRail is awesome. You might think CallRail is about making calls or whatever. It's not. Marketers are always trying to answer the same questions. What investments in their marketing are actually driving revenue? And most of the time, it's a horrible educated guess. It's a poorly educated guess. Well, CallRail replaces that guesswork. CallRail helps over 220,000 businesses unlock how their campaigns are performing, where the attribution's coming from, how the conversations on phone calls are going when they get phone calls, how is stuff going at their lead capture. It is awesome. If you've never checked out CallRail, you're really not doing marketing. All you got to do is go to callrail.com/do this. That's callrail.com/do this. Huge fan of CallRail. Check it out. All right, let's get into the ridiculous stuff. I don't understand something. The number one movie in the United States on Netflix right now is a movie called Gaslit by My Husband. Okay, the Morgan Metzler story or whatever. So I'm sitting there with my wife this weekend. We're like, all right, we need to watch something new. We just finished Love Story, the JFK Jr. And Carolyn Bessette story, which the last episode crushed me. I mean, I knew what was going to happen. Oh my God, that thing ruined me after watching that final episode. It was an incredible series, devastating. But anyway, we're like, let's watch something that's not as devastating, whatever. So we go on, what's the number of movie? Let's watch a movie. Gaslit by My Husband. First of all, what a ridiculous name. I always never really understand what it means when someone gaslights somebody. I never get it right, where it's like you turn it around on them. I'm like, am I gaslighting you? Are you gaslighting me? I don't know why I have such a hard time understanding it. Maybe I'm an idiot. Well, that could be. Anyway, so we tried Gaslit by My Husband, the number one movie. I couldn't make it through 10 minutes. This was the most poorly acted, worst movie I think that's ever been made. I thought it was a joke, but it's not. And it's number one. I know somebody who's going to tell me, no, it's really good. You got to watch it. There's no chance. The first 10 minutes were terrible. The other thing that we are watching, which is incredible in the weirdest possible way, one of the number one shows on Netflix is Age of Attraction. Okay, yes, it's a reality show. Yes, I watch reality TV all the time. So Age of Attraction is this show on Netflix. It's a dating show, and nobody's allowed to tell each other their age. And they have old dudes and young dudes, and they have old women and young women, and they all are kind of like speed dating and find out who they like, and then they commit to each other. But they're not allowed to tell each other their age until after they've committed to each other. Okay, and so they'll have, these people, they fall in love after a week or two or whatever, and then they have to go and commit to each other, and then they tell them the age, and one person will be like, 25, the other person will be like 50, because the person who's 50 looks really young, and the person who's 25 looks a little bit older than 25, and it's both like, they're both like, oh my God, you're twice my age. And then they leave together, and then they have to move in together and see how their lives fit together, and see if their friends make fun of them and their family and how to deal with it. It is fantastic. I strongly recommend Age of Attraction if you have horrible taste in TV like I do, because yeah, I do. And hey, we're in my partnership season. If you want to partner, we're picking out our partnerships for the next 6 months. You go to jschwedelson.com. In the upper right-hand corner, there's something that says partner. We're doing our brand collabs. We're doing public speeches where my agency can help you drive demand. We are doing all sorts of cool stuff. Just go to jschwedelson.com. Let's partner. Let's hang out. Let's set up a call and go watch Age of Attraction. Wait, the party is not over. Go to jayschwedelson.com because I want to do stuff with you. I want to partner with you. When you click on the button Partner with Jay, you let me know what you got going on. Work with my agency, work with me directly, get access to all of my free resources at jayschwedelson.com. And I got a book coming out this April. It's called Stupider People Have Done It, and all of the net proceeds are going to the V Foundation for Cancer Research. Go on Amazon, buy Stupider People Have Done It. That way you can help kick cancer's butt with me. And if this podcast wasn't the worst podcast you've ever listened to, it might have been, leave it a review, follow the show. You are awesome. Go out there and crush it.